Mutants in movies are often portrayed as misunderstood outcasts or unstoppable forces of nature, but what happens when their powers push the limits of reason and venture into the realm of terror? While the X-Men franchise has its fair share of cool and fun genetic anomalies, the cinematic world is filled with other mutants whose abilities defy logic and break reality. From genetic experiments to superpowered beings who could rewrite existence with a single thought, these mutants aren't just strong, they're supreme in every way possible. So get ready, Marvelous fans, because today we're going to meet the top 8 most terrifyingly powerful mutants in movies, beyond the X-Men, of course. Oh, and while we're at it, please don't forget to subscribe to Marvelous Videos and hit that like button. Helps us out a lot. We appreciate it. Thanks. Lucy Miller. Lucy. 2014. Up first, we have Lucy Miller. Okay, imagine waking up one day with a brain that actually uses 100% of its potential. No more forgetting where you left your keys, no more struggling with math. Oh yeah, you basically become a god. That's exactly what happens to Lucy Miller, the unfortunate turned unstoppable protagonist of the film Lucy, played by Scarlett Johansson herself. Lucy starts off as an average woman just trying to get by until her dirtbag boyfriend tricks her into delivering a mysterious briefcase. Long story short, she gets forced into being a drug mule for a crime syndicate led by Mr. Jang. Things take a turn for the worse, or better depending on how you look at it, when she's captured and beaten and the experimental drug CPH4 leaks into her system. Instead of overdosing normally, Lucy unlocks the universe's secrets. With her brain power skyrocketing, she gains abilities that makes even the most overpowered superheroes look basic. She can bend time, read minds, move objects with a thought, and even control technology by touching a computer. She can access anybody's memories simply by tapping their shoulders. She can make someone fall asleep with a flick of her wrist. Lucy also becomes a world-class fighter and can eliminate entire squads of armed men. Wait, there's more. She can also change her appearance whenever she wants to, see the future, and even becomes immortal. You're in pain? She left those behind at 10% brain capacity. By the time she reaches 100%, she literally transcends physical form, becoming one with the universe itself. Lucy starts as a victim, but ends up as something beyond human comprehension. Tetsuo Shima. Akira, 1988. Tetsuo Shima was just a kid who wanted respect but ended up becoming a cosmic nightmare. If you've ever felt overshadowed by your best friend, just be glad you didn't handle it like he did. Tetsuo's story began as a junior biker gang member, always struggling to prove himself against his best friend and leader, Kaneda. He's got the enthusiasm but not quite the skill, and that inferiority complex is eating him alive. One night, in a reckless attempt to show off, he speeds ahead but only to get wrecked by a mysterious kid named Takashi. Before he can figure out what just happened, the government swoops in, drags him off, and starts experimenting on it. That accident awakens some serious psychic powers in Tetsuo, like telekinesis, mind reading, teleportation, you name it. Instead of being thrilled though, he immediately spiraled out. The guy goes from underdog to unchecked superpower, and let's just say it doesn't go well. First, he ditches his bike, big mistake. Then he starts wiping out gang members, taking over rival crews and making Kaneda's life hell. Oh, and he casually flies into space at one point to punch a satellite after it blows off his arm, silly stuff like that. As his abilities grow, so does his instability. He takes over the ruins of Tokyo, calling himself the ruler of the great Tokyo Empire. Meanwhile, his body is losing the plot and mutating out of control. By the time he's melting into a massive mess of flesh and machinery, it's clear he's long past saving. Even Akira, the original psychic, gets dragged back into the mayhem. In the end, Tetsuo's power becomes so overwhelming that it triggered a universe-altering explosion.
Just come with me.
Charlie McGee, Firestarter, 1984 and 2022. Charlie McGee is a little girl with a big heart and an even bigger fire hazard warning. Born with the terrifying ability to set things ablaze with her mind, she's basically what happens when you mix a sweet kid with a flamethrower and an uncontrollable temper. Charlie's powers didn't just pop up out of nowhere. She'd inherited them from her parents, Andy and Vicky, who were part of a government experiment involving a drug called Lot 6. The experiment gave them psychic abilities, but also made their daughter a walking inferno. Naturally, the secret agency behind this, known as The Shop, decided that a kid with nuclear-level fire-starting abilities would make a great science project. So they start hunting her down. Charlie was taught that using her powers was a bad thing from an early age. Sure, setting the kitchen on fire as a toddler and accidentally burning her mom kind of reinforced that lesson. When The Shop wouldn't leave her and her dad alone, she had to rethink things. She started categorizing actions as little bad versus big bad, which is honestly a great way to justify setting a man's feet on fire because he reminded you of a jerk boyfriend scenario that never actually happened. At first, Charlie didn't want to hurt anyone, but after losing her dad and enduring everything the shop threw at her, well, let's just say she reconsidered. She decided to use her powers, but only on people who deserved it. As she grew, so did her abilities. Some scientists believe that one day she might be powerful enough to split the entire planet in half. No big deal. Unlike her parents, using her powers doesn't drain her, so she's pretty much unstoppable. Yatsu, Tetsuo, the Iron Man. 1989. Yatsu is a walking, talking, metal-infused humanoid monster with a flair for drama and an unhealthy lust for destruction. As the big bad of the Tetsuo trilogy, this guy takes body modification to horrifying new levels, constantly shifting and morphing his body into a metallic monstrosity. He has but one goal: world domination through destruction, corruption, and some truly disturbing fashion choices. Okay, maybe not the last one, but still. His love affair with metal started young thanks to a rather unfortunate childhood incident where a chunk of it got lodged in his head. Since removing it would have been fatal, he decided, why fight it? Let's embrace the metal. His worldview only got wilder after a run-in with a pipe-wielding vagrant who beat him senseless and, in his mind, unlocked the true potential of steel. From there, Yatsu's life became one big, unhinged quest to turn both himself and the world into a messed up scrap heap. His hideout is a shrine to steel, decorated with metal and, oddly enough, photos of athletes. He's so committed to the bit that he casually shoves a metal rod into his leg as an experiment. When this inevitably goes wrong, think maggots, lots of maggots, he stumbles into the street and gets run over by our unlucky protagonist, Tomu Taniguchi. Instead of calling for help, Taniguchi and his girlfriend decide to dump the body and then get it on under a tree. I don't think we need to point out how bad their planning is. Yatsu, being the vengeful, machine-loving maniac he is, decides to share his gift with Taniguchi, infecting him with a creeping metal mutation that slowly turns him into an unwilling cyborg. Soon, people around Taniguchi start losing control, like the random subway woman whose arm transforms into a bouquet of jagged iron. Things escalate until Taniguchi's own junk morphs into a giant spinning drill, which, well, ends pretty badly for his girlfriend. Eventually, Yatsu goes full cyber demon, manipulating minds, warping metal, and engaging in an apocalyptic battle with Taniguchi that ends up with the two merging into a single horrifying entity. With their minds fused, Yatsu's dream of a metallic utopia is one step closer to reality, and nothing can stop him anymore. David Dunn, Unbreakable Trilogy. David Dunn, aka the Overseer, isn't someone you'd expect. No flashy costume, no billionaire tech, no radioactive spider bite. He's just a quiet, brooding security guard who discovers he's literally unbreakable after surviving a catastrophic train crash without a single scratch. It turns out that being the only survivor of East Rail 177 wasn't just luck, it was his first clue that he's just built different. Before all that, David was a college football star, but after a car accident, he gave up sports and settled into a normal life with his wife Audrey and his son Joseph. Then, along comes Elijah Price, better known as Mr. Glass, a fragile bone genius with a theory. If he's so weak that his bones break like glass, then somewhere out there must be someone unbreakable. Elijah was determined to find that person, even if it meant orchestrating mass murders to do it. Yeah, I know, right? Some people, I tell ya. David, at first, isn't exactly thrilled about the whole superhero idea. He just wants to live a quiet life and protect his family. Soon, he realized he could see people's crimes just by touching them, so his sense of justice kicked in. His first real test was a sadistic janitor who'd broken into a family's home, murdered the parents, and taken the kids hostage. David tracks him down, gets thrown into a pool, nearly drowns, gets saved by the kids, and then strangles the janitor to death. The next morning, he silently confirms to his son that, yes, he's the mysterious hero in the newspaper. David's powers go beyond just being unbreakable, however. He has super strength, stamina, and immunity to disease, and he can leap higher and run faster than an average person. His strongest ability, though, is his extrasensory perception, letting him see people's darkest sins. So, meet David Dunn, the world's most reluctant superhero, but maybe exactly the one it needs. Carrie White. Carrie, 1976 and 2013. If there were ever a cautionary tale about bullying the quiet girl, this is it. Stephen King introduced us to Carrietta N. White as the tragic anti-villain of his first horror novel, and since then she's been haunting books and movies, and she even shows up in The Dead Zone in It. Carrie's life wasn't great, and that's saying something. Her dad walked out and later died in a construction accident, and she was left with her delightfully unhinged mother Margaret, who was a religious fanatic who saw sin in literally everything. Poor Carrie couldn't even sneeze without getting locked in a closet for praying the germs away. To make matters worse, school wasn't exactly a safe haven either. She She'd been bullied since first grade, always at the bottom of the social ladder, the go-to target for teenage cruelty. Then there was the locker room incident. I mean, getting your first period is already confusing, but when you don't even know what it is and the entire school mocks you for it, yeah, not fun. Carrie wasn't some helpless girl though. She had powers, big ones: telekinesis, telepathy, even a bit of pyrokinesis. At first, she kept it in check, but when the infamous pig's blood prank at prom pushed her over the edge, she finally snapped. And when we say snapped, we mean she burned the entire town down. In a fiery telekinetic rampage, she made sure every bully, every tormentor, every mean girl with a death wish got exactly what they had coming. Even her own mother wasn't safe. One final showdown at home ended with Margaret meeting her maker. Depending on which version of the story you follow, Carrie either died from her injuries, barely survived and tried to start fresh, or left us all wondering. No matter the ending, we'd say she became pretty much legendary as far as mutants go. Dren, Splice, 2009. In our personal opinion, Dren is the real star of Splice. At first, Dren seems almost adorable. She's got big curious eyes, an eerily human-like face, and childlike wonder. Don't be fooled though, because she's not some innocent little lab creation. She ages at lightning speed, learning and adapting faster than anyone expects. One minute she's spelling out nerd with blocks, the next she's sprouting wings, eating raw meat, and displaying concerning levels of intelligence and aggression. Physically, Dren is a fever dream. She starts off with humanoid features, but has elongated limbs, digitigrade legs like an animal walking on its toes, and a long whip-like tail tipped with a venomous stinger. That stinger becomes a serious problem later, but we'll get to that. She also has gills that allow her to breathe underwater, which she casually reveals when Clive tries to drown her. Oh, and if things weren't already weird enough, she develops fully functional wings. Emotionally, Dren is a mix of childlike innocence, teenage rebellion, and predatory instinct. She craves affection, but doesn't fully understand human boundaries. Elsa and Clive first treated her like a daughter, before she started acting out. To be fair, more than a father, Clive sort of swings between being afraid of her and, lusting after her. What is it they say about fear being a powerful aphrodisiac? Yeah, exactly. The real kicker comes when they realize Dren isn't done evolving. Just when everyone thinks she's dying, she transforms into a male. Male Dren is stronger, faster, and way more aggressive. He goes on a violent rampage, killing Clive's brother and their employer before attacking Elsa in the worst possible way. It's a horrifying, gut-wrenching turn that cements Dren as one of the most disturbing sci-fi mutants in recent memory. In the end, Elsa barely manages to put Dren down, but the nightmare doesn't end there because she's carrying Dren's child. The worst part is that she agreed to keep it because, clearly, the experiment was such a success the first time around. The Reapers, Blade 2, 2002. So Eli Damaskinos, an ancient vampire elder who thought Dr. Frankenstein didn't go far enough, decided to create the supreme vampire. One with no weaknesses, no garlic issues, and no silly silver allergy. Sounds great in theory, right? Well, not so much. What he actually created was a monster. Enter the Reapers, basically vampires that make the regular bloodsuckers look like polite vegetarians. Reapers are hungry all the friggin' time. A normal vampire can go a while between meals, but a Reaper, it needs to be fed every couple of hours or it starts eating itself. If your basic vampire is like a drug addict, then a Reaper is a full-blown crackhead, fiending for that next fix every waking second. When they do eat, they don't just nibble or follow any sort of table etiquette in any way. Their jaws split open into a three-way monstrosity with a proboscis that shoots out. Oh, and their bite doesn't just drain you dry, it also injects the Reaper virus into the victim, making more of these monsters. Talk about an aggressive recruitment strategy. Reapers are absolute tanks. They possess superhuman strength, they're resistant to bullets, and you can't even take them down with silver and garlic. You could empty a whole clip into one and it would just look at you funny. If you do somehow manage to stab it in the heart, worry not because it's got a bone shield over that thing. You'd have better luck trying to punch through a concrete wall. Oh, and did we mention they get super speed, wall climbing, and group hunting instincts? Yeah, they don't just come at you one at a time, they swarm you. The only downside is that they're so bloodthirsty that they barely function as anything other than feral mutants. Well, all except Jared Nomak, the first and only somewhat intelligent Reaper. So yeah, Damaskinos wanted a perfect vampire. Instead, he made the worst possible thing. Classic mad scientist move. Marvelous verdict! There you have it. 8 mutants so terrifyingly powerful that even the X-Men would think twice before picking a fight. These characters prove that mutation isn't just about flashy powers and cool outfits, it's about wielding forces that can shake entire worlds and being downright crazy sometimes. Anyways, who's your favorite mutant? Did we miss any terrifyingly powerful mutants that deserve a spot on this list? If you could have any mutant power, what would it be? Let us know in the comments down below. Just maybe don't wish for anything too reality-breaking. We don't need another multiverse incident. Come on. Thanks for watching. Stay safe out there and have a marvelous day.
And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one, be safe out there, and thanks for watching.